Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sebastian Pötsch, the CEO of Prisma Analytics. Welcome to the global product launch of the Edain knowledge ecosystem and its unique blockchain-based tradable license key payment platform. We founded Prisma Analytics more than 5.5 years ago with the goal to build a big data analytics system that would have the capabilities to operate completely autonomously and without any human bias. This system would also have advanced capabilities to generalize unstructured data and further to be able to produce actionable knowledge that could be measured in a logical and standardizable way. A couple of goals that, if achieved, would be transformative by themselves in many significant ways. That system is Edain, and it is powered by a core technology we've developed in this time called C+8 technology. Today, C+8 is collecting, parsing, processing, analyzing, and securely storing data and knowledge successfully. Also, C+8 and the Edain knowledge ecosystem will always be a work in progress implementation, implementing new algorithms and technologies while also improving existing processes where possible. We are already outputting impressive results where we have good depth of data. And very soon, we will begin making a variety of knowledge apps available to the global market. Having said that, we have completed the early working version of C+8. And we have also just recently delivered our first software application to the market, which is called Decision Point. Decision Point application is a fintech app that is made available to financial industry analysts on the Refinitiv Icon platform. Our business model from the beginning was to build a massive knowledge repository, on top of which a considerable number and type of software applications would be developed for the purpose of assisting both humans and machines in their decision-making processes, from very basic consumer-level problems to very complex government-level problems, and everything in between. Today, we are here to celebrate the launch of the Edain knowledge ecosystem and to begin creating awareness of its existence to the global marketplace. Edain, as you will learn today, is a disruptive data analytics ecosystem designed to deliver knowledge to the world as a utility. Like water or electricity is commonly available in many parts of the world today, Edain and our knowledge will be too. So our ultimate goal with Edain, the product we are introducing today, is effectively the world's first and only centralized knowledge database, a database that is n-dimensional in its knowledge depth and breadth. We understand Edain as a modern human's version of the ancient Egypt library of Alexandria, where the literate could, for the first time, have access to the majority of the world's recorded knowledge at that time. And we know that the library of Alexandria was indeed transformative in how it positively impacted the evolution of human intelligence. We expect that Edain will far surpass what the library of Alexandria did more than 2,200 years ago. Consider the impact the library of Alexandria could have with a population today that is more than 7.5 billion greater than existed about 250 before Christ. Today's library of Alexandria is Edain, and operating as an NGO, it will be owned by all of us. A year from today, we will begin introducing new knowledge apps to the global marketplace. These knowledge apps will deliver real-time results to both human and machine queries made against the Edain knowledge ecosystem. These knowledge apps will span the spectrum of machine and human interaction as B2B, B2C, B2G, as well as B2M. Together with our partners at Cryptodata Tech, we share the common vision of making knowledge distributable to every desiring human. Is Edain bold? You bet it is. And we're building it. Come join us on our journey to build the system that will deliver knowledge equally to every human on this planet. Our commitment to you is that we will take you on this journey every step of the way. Thank you very much for attending and have a great time watching the presentations of my colleagues.
Hello, I am Hardy Schleur, and today I would like to talk about the knowledge vault. You know, sometimes you realize that everything you've done in your life, everything you built, everything you invented, everything you thought of, every problem you solved was nothing but a journey to today, to what you do that moment in time. And when you realize that, it's an amazing feeling. And today is such a day, because today we are announcing the knowledge vault, the creation of something that should have done and should have existed long ago. The knowledge vault is going to be an organization, a network, a cloud solution, a place in which we going to accumulate all the knowledge that exists in the world. Not in one day, not at once, but over time. And we begin with one file at a time, one number at a time, one bit at a time, until we can say that the knowledge vault is the place, the go-to place for anything you need to know. Not for fake facts, for fake news, for irrelevant stuff, for Gaussian white noise, for data. Not all data is knowledge. But this knowledge vault will hold all that you ever need to know. Now, some people may say, this already exists. We got Google, we got Wikipedia, we got all of these things. But make no mistake, there is a lot more that needs to be connected with each other. There is a lot more that needs to be known that is reachable by the ambiguity of a search engine or by the limitation of any kind of pedia, any kind of wiki solution. So what we really need is, we need a chamber, we need a place, a solution in which all information, all useful knowledge across all the domains of knowledge can not only be accumulated, but also analyzed and also associated, understood in its context. So that means the knowledge vault will offer information to its users in 3 different ways. One, you can just come to the knowledge vault and say, I want that information, I want that number, I want that study, I want that piece in history, I want that piece of news. But you also can say, I would like to have a quantitative analysis between these and these and these and these things. We will give you that. Or you could say, I want more than that. Not only do I want a quantitative analysis, but I want to have it within the context of that or that or that. And more importantly, the knowledge vault will be the first solution ever created in which all knowledge, without borders, without silos, without divisions, can be researched. From medicine to security, from logistics to manufacturing, from you name it, any subject that you can possibly imagine. The knowledge vault will be created to serve everybody, every man, woman, and child. Everybody will be able to come to the knowledge vault and check out the things that he wants to know. And for that, we have created a beautiful access technology called Edain, which allows, through license keys, for anyone to come to the vault and get his information. And of course, through the wonderful technology of C+8, which allows us to search and find and analyze any kind of information across any domain. And here especially, I want to thank our partners at Dell that are with us over the next 20, 30 years to make this knowledge vault a reality. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Hello, my name is Adela, and today I will speak to you about the value of artificial intelligence and natural language processing in our project Edain. In the beginning was the Word. Think about this sentence, about this idea. In the beginning was the Word. Explore its implications and its power. Now please join me in an anthropological exercise. In Christian cosmogony, the origin of the universe, light is separated from darkness through the usage of the word, fiat lux, let there be light. In Hindu cosmogony, consciousness comes into existence again through the usage of the word, the mantra Om, which encapsulates the entire value of consciousness in the human existence. Across the world, from generation to generation, knowledge is transmitted and transferred through the usage of the word, either spoken or written. This is why the word is the first act of creation. For each and every one of us, from the individual level, through to our families, to our communities, to our societies, when we speak, we actually begin creating. Until the act of speech, our ideas and our thoughts are intimate and are unknown to the other. We learn from Wittgenstein that language is an asset of communities of practice. What does this mean? This means that the way we use words is a social convention. We agree, sometimes explicitly, sometimes implicitly, that words mean what they mean just because we use them in a certain way. Let's take as an example Wittgenstein's famous dilemma about the color green. How can I make sure that the green that I see with my eyes and I represent in my head is the same green that you see and you represent in your head? Wittgenstein was not able to solve this dilemma, and he said that there's just this social conventional disagreement that green denotes a certain color that we both see without having access to actually what we see in our heads. This same dilemma, in the end, applies to human-machine interaction. Now, in the advent of artificial intelligence, the fourth industrial revolution, natural language processing is our only access to artificial intelligence. Natural language pertains to how people interact and speak to each other in their original cultural settings. Better to call them cultural than natural, because culture is constructed by the way we interact with each other. Processing in natural language processing, on the other hand, refers to all the technological efforts that we make in the fourth industrial revolution to help machines understand human language. This is valuable in the development of AI, which is larger than natural language processing, because naturally and culturally and of course politically, language is equally a repository of knowledge and an active creation of knowledge. Each time that we speak, we actually create information, we create data, we transmit knowledge, and by the way we use this knowledge, we can also create wisdom. Imagine that at the beginning of 2020, the number of bytes in the digital universe, so digital alone, not print, not analog, was 40 times larger than the number of stars in the observable universe. This is such a large number that it's hard for us cognitively, it's hard for our brains to grasp. So this is one of the first reasons why we need artificial intelligence in the global setting that we actually live in today. So how do we connect artificial intelligence to this unprecedented volume of information or of data? Depends how you look at it. We do so by creating knowledge ontologies. The first aim of natural language processing, next, so it's equally important, next to helping machines understand human language, is to create categories of information, categories of knowledge, by formally representing what we know about the world in categories of concepts, and most importantly, through the relationships that form between these concepts and these categories. So in a very Cartesian way, what we do with natural language processing is that we teach an artificial intelligence that the world is structured in a certain way. And once we are successful in helping an artificial brain, quote unquote, to understand these categories, we are one step closer to actually creating a very true and very beautiful ontology or structure of the world in a different repository than our direct experience. One may say that the world today is of an unprecedented complexity. I say, on the other hand, that the world has always been this complex. It's just the revolution and very, very rapid progress of communication technologies that actually allows us access to this complexity. Now we can see, more mediated than before throughout history, how intense communication is from individual to individual, from community to community, bottom up and top down. And our brains are not smart enough. They do not have the cognitive capacity to handle this complexity. This is why, after the development of articulated language, the invention of written signs, the invention of the printing press, the three revolutions, cultural revolutions before, now we have the fourth revolution, technological and industrial, which comes as a very, very strong necessity for us humans to understand the world that we live in. As such, artificial intelligence is actually a computerized simulation of human brain, of human intelligence. Through the wise usage of artificial intelligence and natural language processing, we can actually start today a paradigm shift in knowledge management. Throughout our recent history, think of the last 100 years, knowledge has been stored in written format, in books, in archives, in newspapers, in printed press in general. This has created up to today a vertical knowledge that has become more and more difficult or more and more challenging to access. And this challenge is due to the fact that the more we speak through mediated communication, through mediated means, the more noise we produce in the world. And this noise is mixed with what we call horizontal knowledge, the things that we learn from social media, from newspapers, from even gossip by the side of the road. The intersection of vertical knowledge and horizontal knowledge can be explored today through several means, and artificial intelligence in the fourth industrial revolution is the most inviting. Still, for us to be successful in these endeavors, we need to train our own critical thinking before developing an artificial intelligence. We need to be able ourselves to understand how the world functions, how it is constructed, and how it evolves as it does in near real time. And only then we will be able to create a truly authentic and objective artificial intelligence. Let's consider the concept of explainable artificial intelligence. Until today, the industry has developed artificial intelligence models that are actually black boxed. We do not have access as users to how these intelligences develop, how they function in their specialization or their more general aim. In explainable AI, a user such as myself or such as you would be able to understand how that intelligence actually works in relationship with the world itself, or in relationship with data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. C+8 technology that we use within Edain project is a knowledge ontology that can revolutionize the field of knowledge management through the fact that it aims at being exhaustive. And once it is exhaustive, it means that it has the capacity to grasp the complexity of the world that we spoke about previously beyond the cognitive capacities of a human brain. This is where the strength of Edain project actually lies. Thank you very much for your attention. Next, I will hand it over to Ovidiu Toma, CEO of CryptoData.
Hello, I'm Ovidiu Toma. A warm welcome to everyone watching. Today, I'm here to talk about the Edain project and its application to blockchain technology. We're in a generation where technology has surrounded us from all sides, and our everyday activities run on the use of technology. Technology has been, it is, and it will always be an important part of our daily lives. Therefore, CryptoData, the cybersecurity company that I represent, has created the Edain tradable license key exactly for that purpose, to serve as an access key for Professor Hardy Schleur's revolutionary C+8 technology, and to provide the users the opportunity to make knowledge-based decisions at any given time. So, what is Edain? Edain is a revolutionary ecosystem that transforms the process of obtaining and using knowledge into a standardized industry through processes similar to known industries that have influenced human evolution. This means that anyone can make use of the information as a resource, process it, sell it, and use it. For example, oil is exploited and transformed into petrol, diesel, or kerosene, and can be used for various purposes, to fuel a car, an airplane, to manufacture other materials. The most important resource available on this planet, and even in the entire universe, is represented by information. The information is an infinite resource, as its volume grows exponentially and is produced at any given moment by absolutely any existing or non-existent element. As a matter of fact, we can say that imagination, which is a non-existing element from a physical and material point of view, generates information constantly. The big data concept has become a major topic in the modern world, as information is now considered a resource as important as gold, oil, energy, but with a unique feature. Its amount is infinite by being generated constantly. In order to have an efficient, competitive, and sustainable big data concept, we must have an operating infrastructure, storage logistics, distribution, data processing, and operational procedures as well. For both of us and our partners, Prisma Analytics and Dell Technologies, this infrastructure is a highly important element, since it defines how applications based on processed information are developed in the related industries. Our mission is to provide access to information in a plug-and-play way for everyone. And this is the purpose of developing the Edain ecosystem, where information is transformed from an abstract form to a measurable unit that has variable value depending on the supply and demand offer. In the Edain system, information is considered a resource that undergoes various processes to be transformed from a raw material into a finished product, ready to use in any given industry. The intent of the Edain project is to give humanity access to knowledge in a way that users around the world are already used to. The main objective is to put information in a coherent structure, converting it into a familiar form where users can perform. The revolutionary element of the Edain ecosystem is represented by the C+8 platform. C+8 is a technology that uses AI, artificial intelligence, to process information collected from multiple sources in order to obtain the finite matter, the knowledge. Let's understand how important knowledge is in our everyday lives. In order to make a product, a hammer for example, we must use materials such as iron, carbon, wood, but the most important, the knowledge as well. If we use soft wood, for example, the hammer will break after 10 uses at a force of 3 kilograms. If we use a hammer of hardwood, the hammer will withstand 100 kilos at 50 uses, for example. Knowledge helps us to make the optimal decision. So therefore, knowledge influences our lives in a positive or negative way, depending on the decisions that we make. Knowledge-based decisions will trigger new events that in turn will generate more data which can be and will be integrated in the information industry. I can say that this concept marks the beginning of a new era by structuring information in a form of a ready-to-use technology will generate exponential progress in expanding human knowledge and will accelerate the evolution of humanity. The C+A concept is based on the idea of converting information from an abstract form to a material one, so that it can be used by anybody as well as any other resource, in order to be useful for a specific purpose. In order to be able to use this resource with purpose and utility, we have developed the C+A platform to be able to process, to analyze, and to interpret automatically, intelligibly, and correctly all the information. C+8 is more than a simple application. It is a platform that provides the means for developing multiple applications that can solve different human concerns, sort, and structure the data so that the best decision can be made at the right time. Based on the extensive experience of the project development teams, we have created the Edain tradable license keys to serve as the access point for the extraordinary volume of information. We conducted a complex analysis on blockchain technology, and we reached the conclusion that blockchain does not necessarily mean cryptocurrencies, of course, but an innovative technology with high performance properties. The Edain license key is built into that system in order to use its architecture and functionality. The simplicity of the system provides the support and the possibility to build a smart contract that validates the functions of the Edain system. The Edain ecosystem provides two main features: transformation of information from a raw matter with no logical value unless assembled into knowledge, and secures ownership of the transfer by adding value to the overcurrent assets or services. To successfully achieve this, we have chosen the Edain tradable license key as the knowledge unit of measurement, which operates as a verifiable digital asset. I can say that the Edain license key and the C+8 concept mark the beginning of a new technology era. The materialization of information in a form of a ready-to-use resource will generate exponential progress in expanding human knowledge and will accelerate the evolution of humanity.
Hello, I am Hardy Schleur, and I would like to speak to you now a little bit about C+8. Now, C+8 sounds a little cryptic, but trust me, it is something that you will understand very easily, or at least you will understand the needs to it. You know, it's one thing to accumulate a lot of data, but it's another to understand it, to put it in context, to compare a document with a column of numbers in a spreadsheet and perhaps a picture or a video clip. This is very hard to do. Well, for this reason, we invented a completely new and revolutionary data standard, which we called C+8. C stands for causality, and causality is nothing other than transformation, change. What was here, what we have here, and what is the difference? Somewhere in between, there is causality. And then, because we wanted to build something that is very native to the human brain, we came up with a set of cardinal concepts exactly the same way that the brain is using them. For example, persons, or time, or geography, or concepts, or groups, or technology, or objects, and so on. C+8 will provide us, for the first time in history, that all information that humans generate day after day, everywhere on this planet, can live together in one information ecology, can be associated, can be analyzed, can be compared, and more importantly, things can be found. And they cannot be just found by keywords like a search engine. They can be found by what they do, how they behave, how they connect things with each other, how they influence things with each other, through all kinds of domains, through all kinds of things that we typically would never look at. So C+8 puts us for the first time in a position where we can go to this knowledge vault that we talked about earlier and find anything in there, anything in how it works, how it connects, what it does, and what it does within the context that we seek solutions, information, evidence, whatever your reason is to look for knowledge. C+8 will actually make it available. And because of that, we are now building a very, very large set of tools, access tools, that are able to take advantage of the C+8 technology, go into the knowledge vault, and find things, whether they are just a simple file or they are a very complex contextual network of information that we like to uncover in order to understand the behavior of yet another very complex ecology, or the behavior of how humans behave with one another, or how systems behave, or how in general science works. All of that will be possible using C+8. And I'm very proud today to announce, together with the Knowledge Vault, that C+8, together with the Edain access system that we are building, will make it possible for every man, woman, and child on this planet, regardless where they are from, regardless what their education is, they will find the right application to ask the right question inside the knowledge vault. And C+8 will be the tool to do it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Welcome. My name is Andrei, and this is C+8. Please fasten your seatbelts. The C+8 technology is the core of our beautiful ecosystem. It has been invented, developed, and perfected by Professor Hardy after years of intense research and hard work. The C+8 technology has been implemented so far into 6 different applications. We have QSearch, Prisma indicators, company analyzer, social circumplex, geomap, and last but not least, the price forecast. All of these applications have been developed with one specific purpose: to help their users have a more knowledge-based approach when making important decisions. Today, I'd like to present my top 3 favorite C+8 applications. We have QSearch, Prisma indicators, and social circumplex. I promise, this is worth your attention. But first, let's define some building blocks that will allow you to better understand our applications. All C+8 applications use our specific C+8 search engine, which queries our big data collection. There are 8 available fields in which, of course, you can input the keywords you want to search. We also call these fields C+8 elements. We have the persons field, which is for named persons, such as Elon Musk or Michael Phelps. The groups and organizations field is for both named and unnamed groups and organizations, such as United Nations or the government. The geography field is for countries, rivers, mountains, regions, and so on. The events field is appropriate for terms that specify something that has happened, is happening, or will happen, such as World War II, or accidents, or negotiation. The time reference field is for terms that denote time in some way, such as yesterday, the 90s, last year, 2 p.m., or 2019. The concept field is for terms that represent abstract, non-tangible things. The science and technology field is for objects and elements that require a certain level of scientific or technological knowledge to produce, such as cars or vaccines. The physical objects field is for both animate and inanimate objects, like chairs, grass, or table. The more fields you fill in, the more pinpoint your results will be, while leaving fields empty enlarges the scope of the search. After you have entered your search terms, of course, you have to set the time span. You can do this either by using the calendar or any of the predefined periods available. The second important concept that you must understand is called causations. Causations are the necessary components for a cause-effect relationship between 2 or more C+8 elements defined earlier. Completely free of operator bias and fully self-organizing, our technology uses causations as the foundation for our analysis tool. They represent the building blocks with which we recreate the world in digital form. Okay, now that we've set the language, let's begin our journey. QSearch is an interactive 3D application that displays relationship networks. The nodes contained inside the network are called C+8 elements. The nodes can represent persons, groups and organizations, geographical elements, events, time references, concepts, technologies, or just physical objects. As you may imagine, the edges are the relationships between those entities. I like using examples when explaining, so let's do just a quick walkthrough. In order to be able to view and analyze any relationship network using QSearch, you first need to fill in the elements in the C+8 query fields. And after an analysis process, this is what we call a relationship network. The resulting relationship network is generated by analyzing the causations extracted from big data by our C+8 technology. Once they have been generated, you can see how the relationships are directed by watching yellow spheres moving between the nodes. Elements can relate to other elements or to themselves. Manipulating and analyzing the whole network can be achieved in different ways, using several features. You can view, for example, the closest relationship and the closest path between two elements. You can also see the smaller network each element is part of, and view the news article in which they are present. You can also choose which type of C+8 elements to display, or you can also choose to view all the elements present in the network as a list. For me, it is the ultimate tool to discover and explore relationships between entities in a highly complex network visualization and analysis environment. QSearch has helped me personally in order to see connections between things that never looked connected. It helped me broaden my knowledge and understanding of the world we live in. Moving on to Prisma indicators. We see this application as the most straightforward and simple tool, yet really effective. Its output is invaluable when looking for trends, signals, and many other elements in text data. To keep it simple, Prisma Indicators is a big data time series that measures the frequency with which a C+A query has been identified in our causations. The OX axis measures time, while the OY axis measures frequency. The information behind the points can be accessed by simply clicking on them, which also give you the possibility to filter the display sources. And last but not least, we have the social circumplex. The social circumplex is an application that reveals the social moods and energies present in the results of a C+A query. Why is this important? Well, the social circumplex is at its core a very powerful social energy analysis tool that goes far beyond the classical sentiment analysis that is generally used today. For me, the social circumplex is a true gem in a world dominated by technical and fundamental analysis. Let's do a quick walkthrough. Now, exactly as we did for QSearch, the first step towards inspecting those energies is to introduce elements in the C+8 query fields, and of course, set the time span. Once the generation has been completed, you can see a distribution across 14 energy layers of the circumplex. Each one of them holds its own significance. Each data point, for example, has a news article behind it and represents a linguistic element in that particular energy layer. The bigger the data points, the more often the element was identified in the results. What exactly are those elements layer, you may ask? Well, let me briefly mention them. So, we have agreement. It highlights a general state of harmony and stability. Debate, which is characterized as rational and respectful. Hope indicates collective moods such as compassion, sharing, and cooperation. The ideals layer describes a future-oriented attitude that is generally peaceful, thankful, and of course supportive. Power generally describes power structures and power dynamics. Motivation. It highlights people's willingness to act towards specific goals. Escalation indicates a social mood of pressure or anguish. Action is where tension is acted on when discontent is transformed into anger. Conflict is an environment of hostility and violence where groups are divided and then engage in conflicting behavior such as terror or attacks. Frustration is an indication that the social energy in your results is characterized by feelings such as impatience, tension, discontent, discomfort. Fear indicates collective moods such as helplessness and resignation. Anxiety is characterized by feelings such as anguish, doubt, misery, and maybe panic. Negative expectations capture social moods that revolve around disappointment, basically a gloomy outlook of the world. Inaction is where the intensity of collective moods is low. It speaks of a social reality where individuals and groups are uncertain and definitely disconnected. These 14 layers are divided into two hemispheres, cool and hot action, and a transition area. On the right-hand side, we have the cool action, which is oriented towards abstract thinking, reasoning, planning, talking, seeking solutions based on aspirations and cooperation. The transition area between cool and hot actions contain power, inaction, and fear, while the hot action on the left-hand side is oriented towards emotional reactions and impulses, for example, violence, seeking solutions through conflict and competition. The angle placement of the data points in general and within each layer is important, because the lower the angle degree, the lower the emotional valence. The closer the angle is to zero, the more amiable is the energy. The radius placement of the data points in general, and again within each layer, is also important, because the higher the radius value, the more intense the energy. Below the circumplex, there are 4 graphs we call thermometers. Each one of them measures certain discourse elements. For example, time. It indicates what the discourse stance is in relation to the query topic. Tone indicates the positive to negative ratio. Energy displays the strength of the discourse. And lastly, reality displays whether the discourse is more factual or non-factual. I see the social circumplex exactly as painters see the color wheel. The color wheel helps them decide how to combine colors to create beautiful works of art. In the same way, the social circumplex can help people combine social moods and energies to better understand situations and create intelligent responses to difficult questions. Given the fact that this tool offers a unique approach to social energy analysis based on solid, decades-long psychology research, we personally believe that the users will benefit from a competitive advantage in their whole decision-making process. The C+8 apps are revolutionary today, consistent with human thinking, exactly as the data in our brain natively arranges itself in real time, so that C+8 technology constructs a digital map of the real world, its behavior, and its correlations. In my opinion, the launch of these cutting-edge applications will provide new knowledge for users all around the world at a quality and depth that has never been seen before. This was a short journey through my favorite apps. And you may be asking, okay, how can I actually access this technology? Well, starting from today, we open up our ecosystem to you by using Edain. We believe that Edain is a clever vehicle towards our C+8 technology. It guarantees that people will get the best quality-price ratio to search in our knowledge vault. Thank you for your attention.
Welcome to the future. You're gonna wanna get ready. You're gonna wanna get ready. You're gonna wanna get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the future. Here we are making history. Higher than we've ever been. You're gonna wanna get ready. Get ready, get ready. Welcome to the future.
Hello there. Adrian McDonald, Dell Technologies EMEA, here to express the sheer excitement in our organization of partnering with Prisma Analytics on the Edain project. Dell Technologies was built to help organizations large and small to innovate with data. And I am joined today by 2 of my colleagues, Todd Lieb, the Vice President of Strategy and Solutions, and secondly, Mark Malvani, the EMEA Hybrid Cloud Lead, in order to discuss how Dell Technologies is helping Prisma Analytics to drive Edain on a global basis. Firstly, a few words about Dell Technologies. Why are we so committed to and well suited to this project? Well, firstly, it is the purpose of Dell Technologies to create technologies that drive human progress. Surely the most well-aligned of philosophies with Prisma Analytics and Edain. Secondly, we bring many natural benefits. Dell Technologies is a $94 billion organization, growing at 13% based on first half numbers this year, with 160,000 professional team members globally in 184 countries. In the past 3 years, we spent over $15 billion primarily on software development and the development of high-performance analytics, clearly well suited to the intentions of this project. We are focused on driving customers' needs to truly innovate with data. We're focused on their need to win in the digital age, their need to drive cyber resilience, and their need to change the nature of cost of bringing this new digital world to reality. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me finish as I started. Dell Technologies is committed to helping the world innovate with data through Edain. We look forward to the next steps.
Well, thanks, Adrian. Really appreciate the warm introduction. I got to say, I'm excited to be here because as Adrian and I travel around the world, the EMEA, we're meeting with customers, and from the board level to the C level to global architect level of an organization, data is top of mind. And the reason is because of the digital acceleration that has happened over the past couple of years. It was moving fast before, but it's absolutely exploded. I'll give you a quick example. In the bottom right corner, you'll see the statistics about grocery stores. I was meeting with a grocery customer, actually a customer that mostly does retail, and they were introducing a grocery capability to their business. They basically had about 2,000 stores, and they were going to roll those stores out over a 2 to 3 year period. Well, COVID hit, and they rolled out all of them in about 4 months. That acceleration is happening everywhere across every industry. And what's driving it is this idea of data. Now, when you look at that number of 96%, there's a couple things I'm going to call out here. The first is 96%. We rarely ever see that level of agreement. The second that I would call out is, the second word I guess I would call out is ability. The ability to analyze, collect, store data is then tied to the third thing I'd call out, which is survival. So we have unbelievable agreement that the ability to do this type of activity is tied to survival. It used to be that you get a competitive advantage, you get some kind of benefit and maybe a position in the marketplace. Those rules have changed. And as we go into the data era, the other thing that's happening is a reversal of what we've been experiencing over the past series of years, which is let's take everything that's distributed out in the regions or out in the factories or whatever it is, let's bring it into a central data center. Let's consolidate. That is absolutely going the opposite direction now. It's going to the edge. So we're not only going to the edge with compute and data, but we're taking decision-making real time to that edge. That changes the rules, and it makes things like Prisma's Knowledge Vault capabilities even more critical to the success that businesses are going to have over time. And if I think back, or if I sit back and think about Dell, Adrian mentioned at the beginning our level of R&D investment. It's incredible. We invest more than some of our competitors' revenue. And what we're doing is we're investing in, obviously, the capabilities we have today and improving them, but we're investing for the future. Things like AI and ML, things like 5G, the edge, which I just talked about, and then the cloud and security, top of mind for everyone. This is just a short list, but these are technologies and enablers, if you will, of this data era that are in play and that we are investing in heavily, including partnering with companies like Prisma along the way. So if I fast forward and I say, okay, what does the data lifecycle look like when a customer is trying to do data analytics? Well, you see the list here in the circle, and you see that Dell is actually investing and has the ability to help in every single segment. But today we're going to focus on the bottom right. We're going to talk about the Dell Technologies Cloud and how it is an enabler for the Knowledge Vault, for the Edain project, and what Prisma Analytics is doing today as well as tomorrow. So Mark, welcome to the conversation. Why don't you take us through this essential data platform?
Thanks a million for that, Todd. And hello, everybody. I'm Mark Mulvaney. I'm delighted to talk about Prisma Analytics and the Dell collaboration. Myself and the wider team have been working on this for the last couple of months, working with Dr. Hardy and team to understand what the requirements for this essential data platform to provide that engine for the Global Knowledge Vault. And, you know, when Dr. Hardy presented the challenge to me, myself and the wider team thought this was pretty interesting, because when we look at the scope that's involved in this project, the ability to provide insight across data from a global perspective is obviously massively interesting to myself and the wider team. And I was delighted to be working with, on our team from the Dell side, Rob Saunders, our principal data architect, Kevin Jones, one of our PowerFlex architects, and Kalis and the engineering team on PowerFlex. And of course, I have to mention our proof of concept team in the solution centers, Sarah and Rich and the wider team. I'm delighted to represent everybody today on this and just give a brief insight into some of the learnings we've had over the number of months with the Prisma Analytics team. When we look at the scope and the size of some of these environments, you know, a country-size situation room, to look at all of the data, for example, for traffic, for health, whatever it might be, it's clear that whatever platform we talk about, whatever solution we look at to power this environment has to be scalable, has to be able to handle very large environments, but also small environments, because when we look at situation rooms, these situation rooms are not necessarily going to be fixed. They could be a mobile situation room in a truck or some kind of ship or environment. And really what we're looking at is a platform that can work independently of the size of the environment that's required. So this is really why we as a team looked at the entire Dell portfolio, but we came up with PowerFlex as a really strong contender for this platform going forward. Now, why did we choose PowerFlex as a base for the Global Knowledge Vault? Well, really what we talked about or looked at was the ability to handle both bare metal workloads, virtual workloads, and of course, container workloads as well. So that flexibility to look at this long-term and look at the requirements long-term. You know, one thing that stuck in my head from the first conversation with Dr. Hardy was the fact that, you know, this project, the Edain project, required a database and hardware partner, not for 1 year, not for 5 years, but for multiple decades. So we have to look at a platform that can evolve with the Global Knowledge Vault, that can handle all of these different platform choices. But in addition, we also need flexibility around what type of operating systems that are supported. So whether that be open source, whether that be virtualization, whatever it might be, we need a flexible platform that will support all of these. Now, from a workload perspective, it is fair to say that T-SQL is what is focused on for a lot of customers today, but that's not going to be always the case in the future. And what we're looking at is a platform that can evolve and leverage those new database approaches. We also need the capability to expand and, you know, work from a cloud native perspective right from the get-go. Todd mentioned in his session that this is about imagining a platform from a cloud perspective. And as we know, cloud isn't a place. Cloud is an operating model. What we're talking about here is automation, orchestration, self-service, scale up, scale down, and metering. And again, if we look at what the Global Knowledge Vault attempts to do and the ability to provide this environment in almost any situation, that flexibility is going to be key. Therefore, the platform has to match that flexibility. So, you know, when we talk about the agility, we're talking about providing agility at the software layer. We're talking about a platform, in this case, PowerFlex, that will allow us to have that agility and fully support an API-driven approach. So when we look at PowerFlex as a solution, it's fully supported for all of the common automation tools that we may leverage, whether that's Ansible, Terraform, or whatever it might be. But it really is about providing a platform going forward that can scale with a solution of this importance and this magnitude. So if we drill into why specifically for data platforms, what we're really saying is it's about scale, the ability to kind of take storage and compute and scale those separately. We're also talking about the ability to be very flexible around the formatting of the data, but also we need performance. You know, one thing that screams loud for me with this project is it's all about performance. So the ability to deliver millions of IOPS and hundreds of gigs throughput is massively important. And also that scale piece, when we talk about, you know, the benefits of hyperconverged and that linear scaling, that's really important. But again, some of the challenges we have with traditional or even hyperconverged architecture is really around the area of being stuck to a particular format. And again, PowerFlex takes us away from that. It allows us to do hyperconverged. It also allows us to scale out storage and compute separately. And really, we're committed to providing this as a hybrid cloud platform. In other words, the ability to leverage public or private cloud and the ability to provide a platform, not only from a physical perspective, but something that can grow to suit the needs of the Edain project. So we talked about SQL. Let's talk about SQL for a second, just to give an idea in real terms of the type of performance we have seen, because again, the PowerFlex solution is a core product for Dell Technologies. Dell Technologies is responsible both for the software engineering and the hardware engineering for this particular product. Why is that important? Well, again, huge amounts of data today are in T-SQL format. So when we talk about traditional SQL for a second, the ability to deliver massive performance is really important. As you can see there, when we look at TPC benchmarking, 8.4 million SQL Server transactions with a latency of 1 millisecond or less. That is on an 8-node environment. And really what we're talking about is linear scale here, the ability to scale out in this environment. But it is fair to say that SQL isn't the only answer, or at least SQL, as we thought of it in the past, isn't the only answer. So from our perspective, we've been engaged in a POC, proof of concept, with Prisma on this platform over the last couple of weeks. And we've seen some really interesting results that we're going to provide later around the type of performance we're seeing, whether it's 1 terabyte data load, 5 terabytes data load, 10 terabytes data load, or even 30 terabytes data load. And obviously, what we're doing ongoing is to work with larger and larger data sets, because again, we have to prove the ability to deliver this at very large scale. So what we're talking about really is reimagining SQL. We're really talking about taking a new open source container-based approach. What we're really looking at here is big data clusters. And we're leveraging SQL because again, most of the data we're talking about, at least now, will be in T-SQL. However, we are looking at HDFS for the ability to scalably handle that data. But if you look at the left-hand side, we're also looking at Polybase to allow the ability to connect with external data sources. So what we're really doing is reimagining SQL here and reimagine a hardware platform. Not being constrained from a hardware perspective when we talk about storage or compute, the ability to scale those dynamically. But then when we talk about the real infrastructure going forward, which of course is containers and Kubernetes, we're talking about the ability for that software to scale with the hardware. And really what we're exploring is we're looking at the ability to combine T-SQL with HDFS for scale and the ability to leverage Spark for queries at scale as well. And we're really embracing both open source and SQL to deliver this solution. Now, again, it's important to understand this takes time, but again, as Dr. Hardy said to me, this is about a commitment over a serious amount of time and committing a lot of resources to this project to ensure that it's successful. So really, I suppose the summary for me is it's been a really engaging 6 months working with Dr. Hardy and team. I'm really delighted by all of my colleagues who've been involved in this, Kevin, Rob, and all of my other colleagues, Kalis and the POC team. And really, without the Solution Center and the ability to provide globally resources that we can test these environments and really test them to destruction, we wouldn't be able to undertake this type of innovation together. So I'm really delighted to be working with Dr. Hardy and team. We continue to work with Dr. Hardy and team. And thanks for listening. And I'm going to hand back over to Adrian.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Heiner Pollard, and mine is the closing message to the launch of our Edain project, a partnership between Prisma Analytics and Crypto Data Tech. I'm happy to say that many years of vision, research, sweat, and yes, even a few tears have been shed to arrive at where we stand today. In addition to about 20 million euros of private investment capital from individuals that have believed in us from the start, more than 5 years ago. Today is the official announcement of the emerge of the global knowledge vault and its Edain commerce transaction system. Edain, as a tradable license key, will allow that knowledge distributed from the global knowledge vault is completely transparent, auditable, and deliverable at the lowest possible price for the long term and for all of humanity. The vision for the knowledge vault is genuinely forever. It is our hope that we are able to bring knowledge to every human and on a level playing field. In doing so, we leverage the capacity of human intelligence like it has never been possible before, which will allow us the ability to solve problems of any scale or complexity, faster, more accurately, and more efficiently. For the record, this is a really big deal. And by bringing knowledge to the world as a utility and allowing people equal access to actionable knowledge, we also hope to inspire the creation of an entirely new knowledge industry in the wake of the knowledge vault coming online. That the Edain knowledge ecosystem allows us to be able to measure knowledge for the first time is a massive watershed moment for which consequences beyond our current imagination will be revealed over time. I would also like to thank our many partners along the way, because so many people have contributed to what has now become Edain over many, many years. Obviously, our partners at Crypto Data Tech, significant part in making this become a reality. Without their depth of blockchain and software development experience, we would not be here today. They will be central in building Edain and the knowledge vault into Dr. Schlör's vision over the next many years. And it would be an error to not mention our partners at Edain Technologies for their incredible and ongoing support. Dell has been our hardware partner from the day we opened Prisma Analytics, and they have never wavered. I'm personally grateful of their participation here with us today and every day, as we have at times leaned heavily upon them, and they always deliver. I have no doubt that Dell will help us install the knowledge vault as mankind's central knowledge repository as far into the future as any of us can see. Thank you so much for joining us today. It means a great deal to me and all of us that have been vested into these visions at various intervals of the last 40 years. We welcome your help in building a legacy in human and machine knowledge transfer. Edain and its noble knowledge vault is knowledge disruption that we will all own. Uncontaminated, unbiased, transparent, easy to access, and inexpensive to all. Welcome to the beginning of the modern knowledge era. Thank you.